When the day of Pentecost came, they were all together in one place. Suddenly, a sound like a blowing violent wind came from heaven and filled the whole house where they were sitting. And they saw what seemed to be tongues of fire that separated and sat down upon each of them. And all of them were filled with the Holy Spirit. And leave this text up there. And began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave utterance. So I have a commandment, I have a promise. It's commanded, it's a promise, and it's power. And then it plays itself out. I mean, you don't even have to go, what is it? It plays itself out that they begin to speak this language out of themselves that they've never even heard before, that they've never even been schooled in before. A language starts coming out. Now, back up and go in your mind to what's going on in heaven. They're sitting there in heaven, and the Father calls, let's say he calls a handful of folks together, a couple of angels, Gabriel, Michael, and Jesus. He says, fellas, I got an idea. What is it? Well, I didn't just come up with this. I've known it from eternity past, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there now because in a couple of days it's going to happen. Oh, what is it? Well, it's the promise that Jesus was talking about down there. I'm going to feel, oh, yeah, we're so excited about that promise. What is it? Well, it's going to be the power of the Holy Spirit. They go, oh, I know. Now, listen, here's what we need to discuss. I just want to ask you all, like when that power comes on them, we need something to display that power. Ooh, I know. What? I think, go ahead. You go ahead. I think when the power hits them, they all start floating. Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. No. I mean, can you imagine 120 people float out of that room and they're floating down the street? Do you know what kind of impression that would make if people are just floating down the street, not even hindered by gravity, kind of like us angels where we can just float? Now, that's awesome. That is, but that's not what we need to do. What? Give me another one. Help me out. I'm pondering some things to do. Oh, I know. Okay, go ahead. What's your name? Bubba? Okay, Bubba. It's a funny name, Bubba. Go ahead and share with me what you think. Here's what I think we ought to do. Power. I think we need to make claws come out of their hands. Like Wolverines, and we need to just have like this also. We need to give each of them special abilities. So special that they're not like normal men, but they're like supermen, and they're like Aquamen, and they're like X-Men, and they're like all these super weird powers. Like make one of them a fire thrower, make another guy that he can just turn into anything he wants to, like he could just turn into an animal. Make somebody else that can read minds, and oh, I even got a better one. Make somebody that can just like out of his own eyes can just burn you like lasers. Oh, man, that's awesome. No, we can't do that. Well, why not? That's an incredible display of power. And because thousands of years from now, there's going to be Hollywood, and they're going to come up with that one. I need something that nobody could come up with. So guys flying around in capes, they'll come up with that one. Guys that can breathe underwater, they'll come up with that one. Floating people, they'll come up with that one. People who turn into animals, some lady's going to write a book about that where werewolves and vampires have one. She's already thought that up. I need something that nobody has ever thought of in power. Oh, wait. Yes? Flies coming out of their mouth? No, that's just way too Hollywood. Flies coming. I need something that nobody in Hollywood or the future would ever dream up what power is. Because listen, I've been here the whole time. I was here, and I'm looking all the way in. I'm telling you guys, there's going to come something called Hollywood and Pixar, and all these cool things are coming way down there. They're going to dream up all this stuff. It's going to be cool. They're going to use CGI. They're going to blow people up. We need something that even would just so freak out people who believe in CGI. I mean, they're going to be able to blow up bridges and volcanoes, and they're going to have Martians coming out of the sky, and they're going to be fighting UFOs. And they're all sitting there going like, Dad, what are you talking about? And he's like, just trust me. I know what's coming. I need to come up with something right now that in 2013 would even blow them away, because it's so different that no human on the planet would even consider it to be something of power, because humans will come up with fire and lasers out of your eyes and claws out of your hands and reading minds with metal helmets on and turning into werewolves and vampires. Humans can figure that out. They can put a cape on and say Superman. A guy can be in the desert and create an Iron Man suit. I need something better than Iron Man and Superman and Aquaman and Batman and then the guy that's going to go, Batman. I need somebody bigger than a Batman and a Superman, and somebody's behind him going, I think your dad's really wigging out. What's all this Superman, Batman, Aquaman stuff that he's talking about? And then, in the brilliance of only God, beyond any human capacity of logic, stops the entire process of the committee that formed to determine what the pouring out of the power should be. And he shut the committee down and said, fellas, here it is. Just came to me. We're going to make them talk in languages that they've never heard. Oh, that's brilliant. Man, I'm brilliant. That's awesome. And every angel's going, man, and Jesus is probably like, are you sure? Dad, languages? Languages. That's the best. You're God. That's the best you could do. Languages? So let me say this to you. If God picked tongues as the sign of power, it was more brilliant than Batman or Superman or Aquaman or Iron Man or a boy with abs that turns into a werewolf or some girl out in the woods shooting a bow and arrow because people are chasing her in the Hunger Games. God came up with something that would blow people away for eternity and be the most illogical sign of power that the world has ever seen. And it wasn't connected to fire, and it wasn't connected to lasers, and it wasn't connected to Magneto in their mind, and it wasn't connected to werewolves, and it wasn't connected to a vampire biting your neck, and it wasn't connected to something on the inside of you, and it wasn't connected to technology, and it wasn't connected to a bat suit, and it wasn't connected to a cape, and it's not affected by kryptonite. All he came up with was an idea that I'll make you pray in a language you've never heard, and power will come out of your life.